I've got solar panels facing in the wrong directions at the wrong angle, and they work. And I'll show you what it means and how much you can actually get from building your solar installation in the UK, a cloudy country with not so many sunny days. Solar panel angle and direction matters a lot. There's plenty of scientific research and field data that will prove this. You're here to find out what's the optimal angle for solar panels in the UK. And I've got the answer. It's 37.5 degrees facing south. There, you're welcome, I solved it. But what do we do now? What if our house doesn't have a roof that we can put it, or we don't have a land where we can ground mount at the optimal degree facing the optimal direction? Should we just give up on solar? No, we shouldn't, and I'm here to prove that to you. When I say the wrong angles, what do I mean? I mean they're not the optimal angle, and solar panel angle and direction matters a lot. But here's the difference, and here's the important point. You and I, we don't run a laboratory or a photovoltaic business. You and I are homeowners, and I imagine you're someone who's trying to figure out whether placing solar panels on the roof that you have available is worth it or not. And this video will help you understand what I did with the not so optimal angles and the not so optimal roofs I have available, and what did that produce after 3 years of ownership. Let me introduce you to my system. In 2023, I built the first solar arrays on my detached garage facing southeast on one side and northwest on the other. I placed 5 panels on the southeast slope of the roof, and I placed 4 panels on the other side. I connected the solar panels to a hybrid inverter and a 10 kilowatt hours of battery storage. Then connected the whole thing to my home and started using energy from it. I commissioned the system in May, and the next few months were amazing. I was generating energy daily, I was filling up the battery, and I was consuming all the energy my home needed directly either from the solar panels or later on from the battery. This worked so well that I didn't have to buy any additional energy from the utility company for the next 3 months. And I loved this. The return on investment was solid, the system was operating well, and I thought this is gonna be a breeze. But with the onset of autumn and the shorter days and the lower sun, I realized with the cloudy and overcast weather that we have in Britain, it doesn't really matter what direction my panels are facing. I was seeing very similar yields from my southeast string and my northwest string. So it turns out on the overcast days, of which we have many, the diffuse light does not make such a huge distinction between which way your panels are facing. And that's something I learned from observing my southeast string and comparing it to my northwest string. Both of them that did really bad on overcast days, but still they produced energy. And I realized if I put more panels and if I find place for them to connect them to my system, I can get extra energy on those days, of which again we have quite a few in the UK. I'm with that realization and convinced I need more solar for the autumn, spring and winter days. I decided to build a standalone structure where I could put more panels. So in 2024 I built a gazebo right next to the garage, and because of where I placed the gazebo in my garden and the building regulations, I didn't have much choice of what type of structure I could build. So I ended up building nearly flat roof where I mounted 8 solar panels. And that's how I arrived at my final destination of the system that I own right now. I also upgraded the battery to 15 kilowatt hours. As you can see, the angle of the solar panels of the gazebo and the garage roof is quite different. So let's compare the estimated yearly yield from the 2 strings. As you can see, the garage roof with the 28 degrees has estimated 2,900 kilowatt hours, whereas the gazebo with its 6% roof slope has 2,700, or roughly so. The difference isn't so significant, it's less than 10%. And here's the interesting part. On the graph you can see all my strings overlaid on the same graph. Now you can see that one of them is producing a little bit more energy than the others, but the differentiator here is purely the size of the array. The 2 strings I have on the garage are 5 and 4 of the same panels, so they're tracking very closely to each other, and the gazebo with its 8 panels stands out a little bit. So as you can see, on a low light, diffuse light days, overcast weather, the extra panels matter. And it doesn't really matter that they're not at an ideal angle for the time of the year. Of course, things look very different on an actual sunny day in the winter. So here's a sunny day in January. Let's address the elephant in the room, the third string. How did I connect 3 strings to a hybrid inverter that only has 2 MPPTs, which means you can only connect 2 strings to it? Well, the answer is I took advantage of the SunSync's generator port input. So that allowed me to buy a second inverter, and I opted for a string inverter. I wanted a simple solution for budgets that will allow me to expand and also give me the type of generation I need. So I bought a 2 kilowatt grow watt inverter. I connected that to the SunSync on the generator port. This worked out really well, and it has been working like that for a while. Quick note on the admin, I had to upgrade from G98 to G99, and that was a process that took redrawing all my diagrams, submitting a new request to the DNO, and ultimately receiving an approval, but that's a topic for another video. Let's get to the business end. Here are the numbers of the total generation of electricity from my 3 string, looking at monthly yields, and then finally at the total yearly number. Clearly, the gazebo with the most panels on an individual string wins this comparison, and wins by far. However, that string is much bigger than any of the other 2. So let's look at some numbers. I have brought a graph here that will represent normalized output of both strings that look in the same direction, namely the gazebo and the southeast string on the garage roof. As you can see, because of the slightly elevated angle and where we are in the world, the garage outperforms the gazebo almost every month. One exclusion you can notice is July. Nevertheless, every month the gazebo produces more energy than the garage, and it has been a phenomenal success for my system, with nearly doubling the output that I had from the garage. That has made an important contribution to my household economics. But it's not all rosy. There are some real disadvantages to mounting solar panels on a flat roof. So here, for example, is a picture of me cleaning snow from the panels, because I was looking at the weather forecast. It said it's going to be wet snow. Yes, there was wet snow, and then I started calculating how much weight am I going to put on that gazebo. And I wasn't comfortable with the numbers, so I decided I'm just going to go and clean it up. To close off the video, I will suggest to anyone who's considering building a flat roof structure and mounting more panels on it that it's gonna work. And it has worked for me, and I've got the evidence to prove it. So go for it, build your solar panels. The name of the game here is more panels, more better. Thank you for watching, and enjoy your solar build outs.